Welcome to a MainelyDIY.com video.
So this is spiral crochet. I have a video that's specifically dedicated to spiral crochet in 2 colors. So you would want to look at that to figure out how to crochet your pumpkin. I used a size G hook. Well, I'm going to make a stem right now, so I am just making a slip knot, putting the yarn on my hook. I kind of ended my rows together with a little bit of a divot there because I thought that would be nice with a pumpkin stem. I'm going to come just a little bit away from the divot and I'm going to do a single crochet. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make 5 single crochets in this one, I believe. Maybe I'll make more. We'll see how it looks. I may have started too far to one side, or maybe not. So I did choose to do 5, so I'm going to chain 1, turn it, and I'm going to do a single in each one of those green stitches that I just made. And then I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to, so I chained 1, and I'm going to turn, and I'm going to skip both that one like I normally would, but I'm also going to skip this next one, and I'll do a single, and so it's kind of the second one from my hook. 1, 2, and I'm going to do 3, and then I'm going to do a slip stitch in this last one. And then I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to turn my work, and I am going to skip both that one, and then I'm going to do a single, so I did 2 singles. I'm going to go ahead and do 3 singles in this one, and then I'm going to chain 1, turn it, skip the first 2, do a single in the last 2, and then I'm just going to chain 1, and I'm going to snip my yarn, pull the yarn up towards me, and I'll just work in those tails. This is my front side, and I have a little stem there, and from there we'll continue with the leaves. Okay, so now I have the stem on my pumpkin. I'm going to make a leaf for my pumpkin. So I'm going to set that aside and show you how I made the leaf. Piece of yarn, make my slip knot, put my hook in knot, tighten it up, and I'm going to chain 11. So a chain is you just wrap it around and pull it through the one on the hook. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so now we're going to make a slip stitch, and so we're going to skip that first chain closest to the hook, go down in the next one, wrap your yarn around, and pull it through 1 and 2, so I end up with one on my hook. We'll do that one more time. So we put our hook down in the next stitch, wrap the yarn around, pull it up through both loops. Now we're going to do 2 singles, 1 in each of the following chains. So we're putting the hook in the stitch, the foundation row, wrapping our yarn around, pulling it up through 2 on our hook, we'll wrap and go through 2. Putting our hook down in the stitch we want, wrap, pull it up through, wrap, and go through 2. So we just made 2 singles. So now we're going to make 2 half doubles. Now a half double is made by wrapping the yarn around the hook, going down in the stitch we want, picking up the yarn from the back side, pulling it up through. See how we had 3 on our hook? So we're going to wrap and we're going to go through all 3 of those. So we'll do that again. We wrap, go down in the stitch, pick up the yarn from the back side, pull it up through, have 3 on our hook, wrap and go through all 3. So now we're going to make doubles. So we're wrapping our yarn around the hook, going down in the stitch, picking up our yarn, pulling it up through that stitch. We have 3 on our hook. We'll wrap, go through 2, wrap, go through 2. Again, we wrap our yarn around the hook, go in the stitch we want, pick up the yarn from the back side. We have 3 on our hook. We'll wrap, go through 2, wrap, and go through the last 2. Now we're going to make a triple. So we're going to wrap it twice before we put it down in the stitch. Wrap our yarn around, pull the yarn up through the foundation stitch. We have 4 on our hook, so we'll wrap, go through 2, wrap, and go through 2, wrap, and go through the last 2. So we'll do that again. So we're wrapping twice, going down in our stitch, wrapping, pulling our yarn up through, wrap, go through 2, wrap, go through 2, wrap, and go through 2. Now we're going to put a total of 5 in this end chain, and when I get around to the other side I'm just going to kind of bury this tail so I won't have to worry about sewing it in. So we'll wrap twice, go down in that last chain or the first chain, whichever way you want to look at it. We have 4 on our hook, wrap, go through 2, wrap, go through 2, wrap, and go through 2. So that's 2. And this will be 3. So we wrap twice, go down in this hole, pick our yarn up through. We have 4 on the hook, wrap, go through 2, wrap, go through 2, wrap, and go through the last 2. So that's 4. We need 1 more, so we wrap twice, go down through that same stitch, pick our yarn up through. We have 4 on our hook, wrap, go through 2, wrap, go through 2, wrap, and go through the last 2. Now we're going to make our last triple crochet in the next stitch. So we're kind of working back on the stitches that we worked on before. So we're wrapping twice. I'll go down in the stitch, pick my yarn up from the back side, 3 on my hook, wrap and go through 2, wrap, go through 2, and wrap and go through the last 2. And again, I'm just kind of holding this tail down so I can bury it. If you're not comfortable doing that, you can just leave it and sew it in later. So now I'm going to do a double crochet. So I'm wrapping, going down in the next stitch, wrapping, pulling it up through. I have 3 on my hook, wrap, go through 2, wrap, and go through 2. That kind of made my leaf curl a little bit, but I'm just flattening it out. So we'll do another double, wrap, go into the stitch, pull the yarn up through the base. We have 3 on the hook, wrap, go through 2, wrap, and go through 2. Now we need to do 2 half doubles. So we wrap the yarn around, go into the stitch we want, and I don't think I got in the right stitch. There we go. So wrap the yarn around, go into the stitch, wrap the yarn around. I have 3 on the hook. I'm going to wrap and go through all 3. And again, this is a half double, so we're wrapping the yarn around, going into the stitch, wrapping, pulling our yarn up through. We have 3 on the hook. We're going to wrap and go through all 3. And then we're going to do 2 singles, so we're going to put our hook in the stitch without wrapping. Then we're going to wrap the yarn around, pull it up through the stitch, wrap, and go through 2. And we'll do that one more time. We put our hook in the stitch, wrap, go through 2, wrap, and go through the last 2. Let me say that again because I don't think I said that right. So I am putting my hook in the stitch, wrapping the yarn around, pulling it up through the foundation, wrap, go through 2. And then I'm going to do a slip stitch. So I put my hook in the stitch, wrap my yarn around, pull it through both stitches, and I need 1 more slip stitch, so I'll come up here to the end, put my hook in there, wrap the yarn around, and pull it through both stitches. Okay, so I am at my point, so I am just going to chain 1 and cut my yarn, pull the hook up towards my face, and that piece is done. So I have 2 of those. So the next thing I need to make is my little vine, if you will. That's what I'm going to call it. This one I made with 51 chains. or 51 stitches. I like the size of that one, so I am going to make another one the same size. So I am putting the yarn on my hook, and this time I'm going to leave kind of a long tail because I'm going to use that to connect it onto my pumpkin when I get ready. So I am going to chain 51 stitches. Okay, I've chained 51 stitches. You don't have to be real precise about that, so you don't even have to take the time to stop and count them if you don't want to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a slip stitch in each one of these chains, and again I skipped the first one, so I put my hook in the next stitch, wrap, pull my yarn up through both stitches, so I end up with one on my hook. So I'm going to do that all the way down to the end. Okay, so I got to the end of my slip stitches, so I am just going to chain one, and then I'm going to cut my yarn off, and again I'm going to leave a bit of a tail on that one. Snip it off, pull the yarn up towards my face, pull it tight. And you see it curled on itself. That's perfectly fine for what we're doing. So now we're going to start by working our ends in. So I'm going to come up here and take care of this on my stem here. So here I have the front side of my pumpkin, and you can tell it's the front side because see how this has a little twist there? That they all do. This is double crochet. You could do your pumpkin in single crochet, and of course you wouldn't see that. And then on the back side, on the double crochet, you don't see that twist. So it's kind of a matter of taste. You could do it from the other side if you want. So I am going to just take my crochet hook and feed this tail a little bit. I'm not real concerned with that one coming out because the last stitch I did was a chain, and then I cut it and drew it up through the chain, so it kind of made a knot. So I'm not real concerned with that particular one. So I'm just going to snip that off after I've done a little bit. And I will also work my other one kind of the same way. And again, I said I'm not real concerned with this because I kind of already made a slip knot with it, so I probably could have just snipped it off on the end, but I'm more comfortable working it in just a bit. So I will snip that one off as well. So I'm going to take one leaf and one vine, and I'm going to take one of these tails that I left, put it into my yarn needle, and I'm going to kind of work it on the back side of my leaf a little bit. And so I'm going to use that to sew it on so that there's the right side. So I just move my yarn to the back. Maybe I'd take those two pieces of yarn and actually just tie a knot. It's like you were tying a shoe. And then I'm going to take my yarn and I'm going to work it in to the back side. So I'm going to come right down in my green stem and work it in there, because I don't really necessarily want the green to show through my orange there. I mean, that's the back side, so it doesn't really matter, but I don't care to see that. So I am just working back and forth through the green a little bit, and then I'll come work that piece down into the leaf a little bit. And I will take my other end of my tail and sew that in a couple of times. Right through that stem again. Just kind of securing those two together. And then maybe I'll tie a knot again like I did before. And I'm just going to take my crochet hook and work those in a little bit in here. For me, a crochet hook's a little faster. Whichever way you want to do it, you can use your yarn needle or your crochet hook, whatever you feel comfortable doing. Okay, so I've got those worked in good enough, and I am just going to trim those off. I will attach my other two the same way. There we have, almost done. So I'm going to take these little vines and I'm going to wrap them around my finger. If you're not happy that you're getting a good coil, you could wrap them around a thick pen or a pencil, spritz it with water, let it sit overnight, and that will help your curl stay. And right there I have my completed. So I have my completed pumpkin, but it's fun. Makes a nice decoration. What I like about pumpkins and decorating in the fall is, to me, a pumpkin can be for Halloween and it goes right through Thanksgiving. So I think a pumpkin is a great choice to make for the fall holidays. And thank you for joining us, and I hope you are enjoying our videos, and we'll come back often. Thank you. Bye-bye.